Okay, so this is a brief tutorial on using turtle blocks. So you'll start by going to this URL, which is turtle.sugarlabs.org. Turtle blocks is also available as a download, but this runs very nicely in browsers. I'm not sure that it runs in Safari, but it does run for sure in Firefox and Chrome. So let's look at what we have here. So across the top, we have a menu of instructions, which we'll get to. Down the side, we have these icons that represent categories of bricks. So this is a block-based programming. You're going to tell the turtle what to do. And so each category has a set of things. So the turtle category has movement-y things. And the pen category has things that control drawing, like setting the color, putting the pen up and down, things like that. This 1, 2, 3 is operators and math kind of functions, which will be useful. This intersecting sets group has logic things. So when both things have to be true, when one thing could be true, when something's not true, very useful. This recycling symbol gives us bricks that control conditional statements, like repeating a certain number of times, doing it forever, doing it under certain conditions, those kinds of things. The box contains boxy things, which means creating a variable and storing it. These additional bricks include actions, which we'll see, and start, which you'll see, so we'll just wait on those. And then there are some other things which you can explore. Then down this side, you have access to other tools which I encourage you to play with. So we started with a program that will let me draw a square. So I want to change this slightly and say that if I wanted to draw a square, what I really want to do is to do this sequence 4 times. So let's just build that out. Sorry for that, I need the turtle category. So forward, and you'll see that this comes in automatically as 100, and this comes in automatically as 90. These pink blocks are editable. Okay, so all I'm doing is programming by snapping bricks together. And when I put this together and I press start, so this is a run button, and the difference between this run button and the one attached to the snail, as you can see by hovering over it, is this runs the whole program at once, and this takes it step by step. The snail one is very helpful when something's not working and you're not sure. Use the program and go step by step. So when I press start now, you'll see that the turtle draws that square, and that's fabulous, and it's fun to draw a square. And if I wanted to change the color, I could do this. I could set the color, and I add this to my stack of bricks. And Turtle Blocks understands colors as numbers, so I can change the color by changing the number. So here I'm picking 87. I don't quite know what that is. So I erase what I did. I run it again, and I clearly have a different color. If I wanted to get fancy, I could go here. Let's see, I could go here into the math category and pick a random number. So here, what's now happening is going to set the color to a random number between 1 and 100, and it's going to do that each time the program runs. So let's erase that and see what happens. Okay, so there I get that pink, and here I get blue. So that's a very nice, that's fun. Okay, so now this is great, but as you probably have figured out, and by the way, here's how I get rid of a brick. I just drag it into the trash. Okay, I'd really like, that's a lot of work to build a square when really what I'm doing is taking this sequence and repeating it 4 times. So if I take all of this and throw it out, we'll leave this out for the moment. So this says take these 2 instructions, going forward and turning right, and repeating it 4 times. This should give me a square as well. Let's just make sure that it does, and clearly it does. And if I wanted to, if I added this brick in, it's going to set a random color every time I draw my square, just like I did before. And in fact, what this is going to do is, since this is drawing a side at a time, it's going to give me a square with a randomly different color each time it draws the square. Okay, so this is fabulous. You should try this out. But now I want, and so if I were doing this with kids, which I've done many, many times, I might say, now they draw how to draw a square, write a program that draws a rectangle, write a program that draws a rectangle with a different color on every side, write a program that draws a triangle with a different color on every side, a circle, an oval, etc., so that they get used to it. So you could, try that challenge out, and that's kind of fun to do, and you would learn a lot doing it. But now what I'd like to do is to imagine that I want multiple turtles all drawing a square. So one way to do it is to go to my bricks here and grab start, and when I do, I now have multiple turtles, and I can simply rebuild this for this one. But there's a simpler way of doing it, and I want to show that to you. So what I said here was there was this action block. So action stores a command, and I'm going to call it, I can rename this like I can the text stuff. I'm going to call that square, because I don't remember what it is. And now what I can do is to take this and put it into the action brick. So what this block of code is saying is there's an action called square, and the action square contains these instructions. And now I can apply this action to as many things as I want. So let's start with one turtle. So if I wanted to just have one turtle draw a square, I could do this. And I'll just show you that this works. So I erase it. I'm not worried about the second turtle now. In fact, I'm going to get rid of the second turtle now. So there's my original pink turtle. And so here's another way of doing that. Defining the action over here, storing it in something that the turtle understands called square, and then evoking square in my program. Okay, so I could do that. And if I wanted to get fancy, I could go and say I want the turtle to move right a couple of degrees. And now when I do that, and I want to draw another square. Okay, so now if I run this program, it's drawing two squares. I've written the code once, and I could reuse it, and that's fabulous. And now let's say I wanted to make a circle of squares. I need the repeat thing, and it comes out by default as 4, but I know this from experience that it's more like this. So now I take this code and I put it in here, and I erase what I did, and now let the turtle go, and you'll see that he's going to execute this sequence 1,000 times, and I'm going to end up with a circle of squares. Each square has a randomly generated color on each side, and it's going to go until it does 1,000. Something I like to do with kids is I teach them how to build a counter so they can see how many times that's happened. We're not going to do that right now, although I encourage you to try it. So I'll stop the program and erase what I've done. Okay, so this is all fabulous. So what I want to do is I want to get rid of some of the pieces for now. And now what I'd like is sort of like synchronized swimming. So what I would like is a group of turtles to all draw a square at the same time. So I get a set of starts, and every start gives me a turtle. You can see that the little picked icon shows me which turtle it is controlling. And I separate the turtles because they all will appear at that spot. By the way, this working space is a big piece of graph paper with the point 0, 0 in the center. So I can change where the turtles go by programming them. So here it comes out by default 0, 0, but let's just say I want it to go to, I want them all on a line. And so y is 0 is going to be a straight line across. So minus 10. And 0, 0 I'll keep. And plus 10. And plus 20. So now so just to show you where they were all stacked up together. And if I hit start, they're all going to spread out. And the first one's going to draw a square. And probably I need more space, so I'll make this minus 50 and 0 and 50 and 100 to give them more space. So I'll erase that. And you'll see that they spread out kind of nicely. Okay, so now let's give them all the action square. Okay. So what do I have now? I have the stack of turtles. Each one is controlled by this. And when I press start, they're all going to go. So let's see what happens now. Let's clean this up a little bit. So if I click on this little thing, the individual bricks disappear, which gives me more room. And so let's run it and see what happens. So there they go. So now I have my synchronized swimmers. Okay, so what we've learned so far is how to program with bricks, how to use a randomizer to create different colors, how to simplify the code, and how to give the code to multiple turtles. For your, you don't need to replicate the squares thing, although I recommend that you do that. But for your work this week, I'd like you to use all of these skills and add some conditional statements. So either something happens if something else is true, but to extend what I've shown you. All right, so have fun. I can't wait to see what you come up with.